Good morning. Welcome to this Instagram Live. This week, doulas are celebrating Doula Week, and myself and Nicole have decided to do a little live session today to talk about doulas in a very general way, but also to explore how families can decide who the best doula is for them. I'm going to be joined by Nicole as soon as she comes on, and I'm hoping that I will find her. I'm gonna see now if I can either find her myself here. She can join. So myself and Nicole are going to talk about finding the right doula for your family. If you're listening live, please do tell us if you're hearing us fine. If you can't hear us, do let us know. And if you have any questions about doulas in general, or how to find the right doula for you and your family, you can put your questions in the comments. I'm just going to be waiting for Nicole to join, hoping that she hasn't forgotten about us. She should be coming along very shortly. Nicole is Nicole is unable to join. Oh, well, that's not a very good start, is it? We're going to see now. We'll give her a few minutes. Yeah. Nicole is trying to join, I think. Yes. There. I think we should be working out. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Let's
There's a
hope
little
for good internet connections
bit-
and good sound.
I know, fingers crossed.
Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, very good
So,
chat.
what we want to talk about today is, I suppose, what I would like is to get to know you a bit better, because we actually don't really know each other that much. But
No.
also, I would like to know your take on how families can choose the right doula for them. So those are kind of two things we're going to talk about this morning. Just a little warning, I am baking this morning because I'm hosting a bake sale tomorrow at my
Okay.
house for charity, and I have the cake in the oven right now that I will have to take out in about 10 minutes.
That's no problem.
So I'll walk away and then let you talk for a couple of minutes in about 10 minutes.
We're going with the realness of it all.
That's it, exactly. I mean, that's typical me now in the middle of a live, I'll go baking like.
Yeah, well, it's real life,
That's
juggling
it.
all the things.
So will you start by introducing yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Nicole. I'm from Offaly, but I actually live in County Roscommon. I've been here about 2 years now, and I'm a mum as well. My daughter Ava is 11 years old, so we're at a different stage of the parenting journey than most of the families that I'm supporting.
Yes.
And I'm a birth and postpartum doula. So that means that I support people kind of from pregnancy and during their birth or postpartum as well, or just postpartum. I think that sometimes people are unsure if it's like, oh, I have to receive support for the whole duration, but it can
Yeah.
be, either or, it could be the whole spectrum of it. And I'm also a yoga teacher that specializes in pregnancy, postpartum, and during their birth. So and postnatal classes as well. So I teach them in Roscommon and Longford. But yeah, my work is kind of along that full spectrum of, pregnancy, and even sometimes working with the menstrual cycle as well. So even
Yeah.
before pregnancy, and with menstrual cycle awareness, and then all the way into postpartum. So kind of up until that kind of first year after a baby is born. And yeah, it's a good, gorgeous support to be offering to the community here, and in the west of Ireland and the Midlands as well, because I've been based here for the last nearly 2 years, but I was in Dublin and Kildare before that, and kind of that side of Ireland where it was, I think, a little bit more well known as well.
Yes.
Where this side of the country, it's known, but definitely not, I suppose, as go-to support for doula support as it is in some places.
Yeah, in the
Um,
cities in Ireland, it's definitely, I would say, more known. The communities are bigger, so people talk probably, in those ways. In the countryside, there's more traveling involved, a bit more
yeah,
isolation, which unfortunately means that the need for doulas might actually be greater in a way,
great.
because there is less
Yeah,
support, you know?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Because like most people here are like traveling, a decent distance to the hospital. Like if you live in
Yeah,
the likes of Roscommon or Longford, like you're kind of driving 45 minutes to an hour to a hospital if that's where you're choosing to birth.
absolutely.
And yeah, the lack of home birth services as well in this side of the country. So there is, I suppose, as you said, a little bit more isolation and also less choices. So
Yeah.
therefore, I suppose more actual need for support.
Yeah. And tell me what brought you to the doula profession and doula world in general. What was your journey like?
Yeah, my journey was, yeah, I suppose it was like a spiraling one. And like I never heard of a doula when I gave
Mm,
birth. I was 19 when I birthed Ava, and it was, yeah, it was not something I
mm,
had heard of at all. It was only a couple of years ago, and I suppose it stemmed through, as I mentioned, menstrual cycle awareness. I started studying that with Kitty Maguire over the lockdowns,
mhm. Oh, yeah.
and through other teachers as well, kind of learning, I suppose, about my body and my womb and my cycles and the cycles that we move through as women. And it kind of led through like, oh wow, there's so much that we don't know. We're not told in school, or we're not told
Yeah.
by society or family. Well, for me anyway, there was so much information I didn't know about my body.
Mm,
And then through that, I suppose it weaved on to being like, oh, like information about pregnancy, that like same thing I never knew in birth. And I started watching some documentaries, and I'm not sure which birth documentary it was. I don't know if it was one of the big ones. I just can't think of the name I was watching, and it really like hit me like whoa, like the tears arose, and it was like, whoa, there's actually so much that I was just completely unaware of.
yeah.
And when I gave birth, and actually everything that happened in my birth wasn't normal,
Hmm.
even though it seemed normal to me at the time. And just like, you hear of everybody. And yes, I do actually think it was the business of being born. Uh,
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, I do think it was that one. And I was just like, whoa, like I didn't know everything that didn't happen to me was normal, because all I heard of was most people that I spoke to had really hard experiences.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, yeah, like just like it felt that shock in my body of like, oh, like that's not how it had to be.
Yeah.
Like, little things could have made a difference. Um, and yeah, it made me kind of want to, I suppose, yearn to learn more. And yeah, I just went on that learning. I went to study to be a pregnancy yoga teacher and
Mhm.
a birth doula, and unsure if it was more for my own education or to become a doula. As again, I didn't really know of the community here in Ireland
Yeah.
of doulas. And yeah, I just kind of kept following that path and learning more, and I suppose working on my own healing with that as well, and reflecting on my own experiences, and then that real want to support other people in having experiences where they actually have the information. It's not like an after, that they
Hmm.
can have the information now, and that they can make choices that are theirs, and have births and postpartum experiences that they actually feel like really heard and
Yeah.
supported in their experience. Yeah, so then kind of after that I went and did my postpartum training, and I have been working then in that since, and same added in the mum and baby yoga training after that, and it all kind of layered on top of each other, the
Yeah.
information, and soaked in different ways, and found different ways that I can support people, be it through a yoga class, through a women's circle, through doula support. And I
Yeah.
suppose weaving those little bits of information and supports into my own life and into the community, and even just friends and things like that around me.
Yeah. And I think it is quite a common thread between doulas is that we all have our own life experiences, which are very unique and different. And that's how we get into the doula profession via our own life experience. And that's
Yeah.
how we can nearly specialize in the different areas of, for you, it's yoga, pregnancy yoga, the kind of cycle for women, you
Yeah.
know and it's whatever nearly we lacked in our own experience that we want to give, that
Exactly.
information you're talking about. You felt very unprepared, and you didn't know what was going on, and your body kind of basically was in shock from the experience. You want to prevent others from going through that, so you're educating yourself to educate others, and that's where your doula heart goes. And I
Mm,
think for each individual doula, there's as many ways of doulaing as there are doulas in the world, really, because we're all coming from our own traumas or our own experiences or our own, wishes for the pregnant and postpartum families out there.
yeah, and I suppose like that can be a good thing or a bad thing, where
Yeah.
I suppose we're here to talk about like, choosing a doula, and it's like we don't want a doula that's trying to fix our experience,
No.
as well. So like that's, I suppose, a good thing to be aware of. Like a lot of doulas will come in because of their own experiences, and there's also lots of doulas that aren't parents, but they come in because they're seeing what's happening with family or friends, or the community around them.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's like wanting to provide support that we're seeing in our lives or around us that's not there, and trying to like fill that gap.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the important part, is that like the doula themselves has worked through their own stuff, that they're not putting that
Yes.
on uh,
Yeah.
the pregnant people or the postpartum people that they're supporting.
Yeah.
Because our role is not to fix your experience or to make the choices,
Mm.
for you, or tell you what to do. It's to support you in making your own choices, and making sure that you have, you know, the options and the
Yeah.
support that you need, or like the listening ear, like postpartum. Like I'm sure like it's like such a big part of the role that does be sometimes not
Yes.
even why the person hired you to be their doula, but like it's actually like one of the biggest parts of the support is that listening. And
I'm
yeah,
just
so many
taking on
people
my
it's like,
cake, Nicole. Don't mind me.
you work away, we take care of that cake.
I think it's okay. I'm just
Um,
gonna turn off my oven and just pretend it's not there.
Yeah, so it's like that, yeah, that listening support of somebody that's not like your friend or your family member, that might, share their experience back to you, or be like, oh, do this, do that. It's actually just being able to, hear whatever the person's going through, and like
Yeah.
hold that for them and hold them
Yeah.
in it, rather than, yeah, allowing, I suppose, our own experiences to be like, oh, you must do this. But we can share the information, extra information with them if they want, and
Yeah.
have them reflect. But yeah, I think
I
it's a really
think
important
that's
part.
yeah, and I think what matters a lot as well is for us anyway, as doulas is that we are a real profession that's only developing. It's still quite new, especially in Ireland, maybe. But the training programs that we go through matter a lot because that's where becoming a professional is, the training, the ethics that we follow, the practices that we're supposed to be, following. And we are not there, as you said, to fix anything or to take over anything, and this professional training that we have is very important to work through this ourselves, to know what kind of doula we want to be, but also to have those boundaries and that professional ethic that
Mhm.
matters. Um, so the
Such a big part.
training, sorry?
I was just going to say it's such a big part of the training as well, which even I think like doulas that go to do the training sometimes don't even realize like such a big part of
Yeah,
it is reflecting on your own experiences and working through that and working on that
yeah,
and getting used to like different types of like communication and all those kind of deeper learnings, that inner work I
yeah.
think is a big part of the doula trainings, that makes, such a difference. And also just like learning how to, yeah, listen like completely and learning how to, help people like reflect without
Mm.
sharing our own on them. And like I hear all the time from clients and from people in yoga classes of like how like different care professionals through like all sorts of different roles like they have like some people have a really bad awareness of language and they're like, oh, other people would you know uh, be down on their knees like praying for that experience that you just had because
Mm.
you didn't have pain relief. Others would die for that, and it was like, yeah, but she wanted pain relief and you didn't give it to her.
Yeah.
Or like a postpartum mom at a breastfeeding group being like really struggling with oversupply of milk
Mhm.
and a professional say oh, aren't you lucky that it's an oversupply and not an undersupply?
You
Or
should
like
be
little
grateful,
things
really.
like
What are you
this. You
complaining
should be
about?
grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
that's not a like fault of other professions in general. It's like just missing pieces in people's trainings where that's actually
Yeah.
like a really big piece of doula trainings is like learning not to make silly comments and
Yeah, basically.
actually to
Yeah.
just listen in the whole space and provide extra supports if they need it, but not
Yeah.
to actually make the people that they feel like they should be happy or it's good
Yeah.
enough. Because
Yeah.
like I know personally that's not what I'm all about. It's like it's not good enough. Like, it's
Yeah.
like you need what you need and that's okay.
Absolutely. And I think, again, in doula trainings, active listening is a skill that we all have to learn.
Yeah.
Like actually actively listening to somebody and their story and what's behind that story and what's in between the lines, and
Yeah.
not be too quick to either react or respond or try to fix. We are there to sometimes just step back. It's already said in the comments a couple of times. They're holding that space for them.
Yeah.
And that's something that really is missing in our society in a very general way because
Yeah.
things just move too fast all the time and nobody has time to actually settle and debrief and listen to themselves tell their stories. And I think
Yeah.
as doulas, we provide that space to just slow it down and just, you know, take those threads out of their stories to kind of see where they lead and what they need from that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, because it is like we live in a society that's so like busy and always like going and moving and
Mhm.
like when we're talking to somebody we're thinking about what we have to do next or we're thinking about what we're gonna say and things like this and we're always like ready to speak and share and give and keep moving and also we want to help people like
Yeah,
generally if your friend comes to you with a problem you want to be able to help them and you want to give all you've got but it is that skill and I definitely started that active listening through like menstrual cycle awareness as I
yeah.
shared over the lockdowns and that experience of having like listening partners and where we would share and just focus on listening to each other, or the likes of women's circles where like you might have a couple of minutes to share and everybody just practices listening.
Yeah.
And you practice as well, like being heard. And because we're also, as well as not being used to listening, we're also not that used to actually being heard.
No, that's
Um,
true. I
yeah,
think that, not many people, maybe women more so, are used to being allowed to voice certain things that are uncomfortable,
yeah,
and tricky to say in words. It's very emotionally loaded, pregnancy and birth and becoming a parent. It's harder than it seems, really, and people don't
absolutely.
express that enough, and I think we're hopefully moving into a society that's more open to expressing all of that.
Yeah, definitely. It is. It can be hard for people like the first time, or even like, it's that like total thing of like if you start getting emotional or if you tears come in your eyes, you're like, oh, I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
it's like that you shouldn't be getting upset, or you shouldn't be like feeling the emotions. I think it's a big part of our role of being like, no, like it's okay, like, share what you need to share, or allow your emotions to be there.
Absolutely. Yeah. In your opinion, as a professional doula, what do people need to know when they're starting to choose the doula that's right for them? What would be the first steps?
I think getting to speak to doula, like, either that's like a phone call or a video call, or if you're close by, maybe
Mm.
there's an option to meet in person, and just actually getting a feel for that person's like energy, their personality, and that you have kind of a similar like ethos or philosophy. And like, it doesn't mean you have to have all the same likes or the same beliefs, or the same communication styles. It's not any of those things. It's more feeling like that actually you feel comfortable around that person,
Yeah.
or you feel comfortable speaking to that person. So the likes of like, of course, if you meet in person, you can kind of get that, sometimes energy off somebody, that if you feel comfortable around them. But if you're on the phone, it's very much like, is that person like asking you questions, and then like what we just spoke about, actually listening to you while you answer them? Are they, then maybe helping, like, be like, oh, okay, so you're looking for a doula because of this, like they can reflect things back to you?
Yeah.
Or are they like, just like talking about themselves on the phone for
Yeah.
half an hour call?
So
So
I'm
it's
good
one of
for
those,
you because
because
no,
yeah, and
just
like,
no.
exactly, like listing all those things. Actually, it's like, yeah, like the doula's on the phone to get to know you as well,
Yeah.
and you're on the phone to get to know them. So I think that's like a huge part. Just seeing like, can you have a conversation together? Do you feel like comfortable enough talking
Mm.
to the doula openly, and are they actually, listening to you? And they, so I think it is a lot about that, like, communication, and that, like, yeah, like that they can give you what you want. So I think definitely is, in like, if you come onto that phone and be like, oh, I'm looking for a doula because, I think is good, because then that doula can be like, yeah, I can support you in that, or here's how I support you in that.
Yeah.
Or they can say, actually, maybe I'm not the right person for that. I also think that's a really strong point for the doula to be able to say, like, maybe I'm not the right doula for you, but
Yeah.
here is, you know, some other people that might be able to help you.
Absolutely.
I think that's such a big part as well.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and somebody in the comments is saying it's basically how you click or not with the family that is
Yeah.
seeking out a doula. And I think what you just said there is absolutely right, is not everyone is the right doula for every family. So knowing
Mhm.
your doula community around you, being aware of their strength,
Mhm.
will help you lead the family to the right doula for them. So if you're taking a call or meeting a family in person as a doula, you we kind of know already, listening to that family, I don't think I'm going to be the right person for them. I'm going to contact you that probably have already a name or two
Yeah.
saying, I think this specific doula will be a really good match for them. And that's actually the beauty of the doula community that we have, maybe in Ireland more than anywhere else, I'm not sure. But I think we do get to know each other a fair bit, and we know who's in the local community as well that
Yeah.
has a specific set of skills or extra training that might fit somebody's experience or wishes more than our own.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure any other profession does that. I'm not sure I'm the right professional for you. Don't pay me, go pay somebody else. I'm not entirely
Yeah.
sure we have a lot of professions that fit that criteria. But I think you're absolutely right. That's something doulas do, and I think that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I think it's like, yeah, it's not just like, okay, this is the closest person to me, or, like it's like, okay, like maybe because especially like say this side of the country, like, and I'm not sure what it's like down by Cork, but like there might be people that are a little bit further away from you, but still
Yeah.
cover your area. And it's like the person closest to you, maybe you'll get on a phone call with, and you're like I don't really know if I clicked with that person, but you go with them because they're the closest. But
Yeah,
maybe like if you rang somebody that's, 20 minutes further down the road or 30 minutes further, but is, also covers your area and you spoke
yeah,
to them, you're like, oh, actually, I
absolutely.
really click with that person.
Yeah,
So it's not just, I suppose, going with the person that's the closest or going with the person, that the first person that you speak to. Sometimes, like, you do need to speak to a few people to
yeah,
find somebody that clicks with you. And like that's okay. And pretty much all doulas offer at least that free phone call, 30-minute chat. And maybe the first doula you ring and you speak to, you're like, yeah, like we can have a chat, we can have a laugh, or whatever it is.
yeah,
Like, yeah, yeah, no, I know she's she's the one to support me, and that's great. But it's like not feeling like you have to just go with the first person you speak with because
yeah,
they seem okay. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're right. It's people are allowed to go shop around for the right professional for them in terms of doulas, as whether it's for birth or the postpartum, the
yeah,
doula
yeah.
is going to be in a very intimate, fragile space once you're having your baby or once you've had your baby. It very is such an intimate time that you do want somebody that you are really comfortable around, that somebody that you won't have known for a long time, but somebody that you
Mhm.
can really put your trust into and be yourself with. Um, and that's really not an easy thing to do. So clicking with the right doula is essential in that space. And that might be the one thing to take out of this talk today is really go with the person that you have a good vibe with, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is that. And like you said there, like you're getting to know this person over a short period of time. So
Yeah,
like be it for birth or postpartum support. So it's like, do you feel like you can actually be all of yourself in front of that person? Like all parts of yourself, like the moody self, the giddy, playful self, the, like tears bubbling down, like ugly crying face self, like all parts of yourself with that person. And it's like
yeah,
that kind of what you want, because like this is actually one of the only people you actually get to really choose who's going to be
yeah,
in your birth space or your postpartum space in your home. A lot of that is
absolutely.
like your family, your friends and like things like that, and other care providers as well. Like if you're attending like a hospital or your public health nurse or whatever it is, like you don't really, you know, choose fully, or you don't
Yeah.
know exactly who's going to be in the room. And you might have family coming to visit and they're not the ones you want coming in, or you
Yes,
have to have them in and that sort of thing. Whereas like you actually get to choose, who your birth doula is, who your postpartum
absolutely.
doula is. And so like making the choice that actually feels the best for you, that person that you vibe with, that person that you feel comfortable with,
Hmm.
is so important.
Yeah. And to bounce from that to another thing that might be important for families who are choosing their doula right now, doing the research and choosing early enough, and not wait to the last minute because the doula you will end up wanting will probably be already booked. And
Mm,
also, you won't have that time to build that relationship. So, if a family is knows already that they're looking for a doula, don't delay and start looking when you feel, the need, or when you're starting to do your research during pregnancy, before the baby arrives, if it's a postpartum doula.
Mhm.
Um, because I feel sometimes families think maybe, oh, I might want to doula, but I'll wait. It's not, urgent. I don't need her right now. And then once the baby, well, I do the postpartum, I don't do the birth, but I
Yeah.
get called by people after the baby's already arrived,
Mhm.
but it feels it's already nearly too late for them because they're already in that kind of blur, panicky, kind of overwhelmed state. And I have to step in and try and help them, but we haven't had a chance to get to know each other yet. So it's quite tricky. So I would say, a good way to go is to start your research on your local doulas and who you might want early and get on to them.
Yeah, definitely. Like if you know or you have an inkling that you might want or need more support, like during your pregnancy, like start to look into that and especially like for postpartum support, like if you know during pregnancy that you might want support,
Mhm.
well then like, send a few messages to the doulas in your area and organize those chats when you have maybe a bit more clarity of mind and a bit more spaciousness to do that. And
Yeah.
it's also the knowing if you get to postpartum and you heard about a doula for the first time because your public health nurse told you or because your neighbor
Yes.
said like, oh, have you heard of a doula? And you're like, no.
Yeah,
That would
absolutely.
be like, and then you're like, how am I only hearing about this now? But you actually, do reach out to a doula then, and it's like, it's not too late.
Yeah.
Like I know personally, and some doulas will be different. Like I can take postpartum doula clients up until like, they're a year postpartum, and
Oh,
some
yeah.
people will work with different timelines depending on them. But like, it's not too late if you're a couple of weeks in or a couple of
Yeah.
months in, and you actually feel like, oh no, now is actually the time I really need support. Still reach out to people and don't just assume the person doesn't have availability or assume you can't
Absolutely.
reach out because it's late. But yeah, if you know ahead of time that you will want support or that you might want support, do your research early and make those
Yeah.
calls early. And the
Yeah.
same thing, I suppose, with birth support as well. Like some
Yeah.
people know that they want that support early, and they might know if that's a doula or not, but you can start making those inquiries. And some people could get to the last few weeks and be like, oh no, I really need support, or a circumstance changes
Yeah.
and you don't have a birth partner to attend with you or whatever it is, and that you're like, oh, you might need somebody last minute, and you might go onto the doula's website and all their information is about packages and antenatal prep and birth prep and stuff, and be like, oh, I can't receive that support because
Yeah.
I didn't book with them earlier. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, send that inquiry, because most doulas, if they have availability, and you click as well, and you feel like you could work together, do sometimes take those last minute supports, be it in, you know you could be 30 and you're like, you need support, you might don't feel like you can't reach out because you're not looking for the birth prep as well, and that's what's on their website.
Absolutely. And I think that's very important because at the end of the day, it's a very, again, human connection based
Mhm.
service that we offer. So as a postpartum doula, my preference would be for people to get on to me early so I get to know them. They get to know
Yeah.
me and I can work with them, make a plan. However, if somebody calls me in a panic, I will 99% of the time go, okay, stay put, I'm coming. you know, because I've got that, energy to go and do the best I can to support any family that needs the service and the help and the support, you know. Especially again because I'm based in the city, it's easier for me to probably move about and be within range of somebody, nearly
Yeah.
within half an hour. So if somebody calls me saying, oh my God, I'm just home from the hospital with my baby, what is this breastfeeding thing? I was not expecting it to be so, demanding or painful or whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
hold off. Where are you? Can I call in this evening? Let's have a chat, see what you might need, because what matters is that the person receives the support they need,
Yeah.
and I think that again, in terms of doula skills, this ability we have to be the compass pointing in the right direction of, okay, this feels like this is what you might need, or this feels like you might want to reach out to this professional here. That's something that we learn to do. That's also a great skill for most families, really,
Yeah.
because we might not be with them a lot of the time, but we can definitely point them in the right direction of what they might need as well.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody that you can come to without having to do that like 3 a.m. like scrolling on your phone trying to do all the research, that you can just like ask your doula like, oh, like where do I find the local, breastfeeding group, or where do I find the local, I don't know, pelvic health physiotherapist or
Yeah.
whatever it is, like, or even you mightn't have that language, but maybe you're like, oh, my pelvic floor feels a bit off postpartum, and I don't know what to do, and yeah, and it's like the doula can say, oh, actually, whoever down the road,
Yeah.
specializes in pelvic health care. And it's actually really important to get checked postpartum. So here is, that person's details. So it's actually maybe being able to like read between the lines, like you said earlier
Yeah.
on, like finding it's like, oh, actually, it's maybe this service that you need. Yeah, I think that's a big part, being able to be adaptable
Yeah.
to each family. Because like we said there about people reaching out at different times, like each family
Mm.
as well, each person needs different types of support, and
Yeah.
every household and every family that you work with, and everyone has like different needs and different things that are important to them. So like I always ask, like on those discovery calls, like, you know what is it that like brought you to looking for a doula, or
Mm.
like, and how do you think that you'll need to be supported? And
Yeah.
some people are like, I have no clue how I need to be supported, I just know I need support. And
Yes.
other people are like, oh, actually, like postpartum, like food is really important to me,
Mhm.
because when I gave birth the last time, I was living on biscuits and coffee and bananas, and like the odd time my mother-in-law would drop over a dinner, but like
Yeah.
that might be the only like warm dinner that we got in the week. So actually this time food is really important,
Yeah. Yeah.
or something as such. Yeah.
Absolutely. Or sometimes it's very much based on, as you said, just their previous experiences. But in terms of the support in the birthing room, it could be very much that, doulas are generally well trauma informed and trauma aware, and being able to support a family that have had a previous traumatic birth, or a very negative experience, being accompanied by somebody who can hear this story, again, hold it with you and support you in a way that you feel you truly need at that time is really, and the doula will give that time. She's there solely for you in that room. She doesn't run in between wards or in between rooms or in between whatever. So the person that will give you that time and that space that you truly need is really what families are looking for, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And like coming like from what you said there, like that outside perspective, because like maybe as you said there, if you had a first birth that was traumatic
Mm.
in, any way, and like if it's the same birth partner that you have with you, be it that, your actual relationship partner or your mom or whoever it is there, like maybe they also witnessed the last experience, and they're wary of like how they'll react this time.
Yeah.
So it's like having somebody there that's kind of from an outside perspective, but is also there solely for you,
Mm.
um, and to kind of keep that steadiness and to be able to support both you and your partner by being that steady person in the room that's doesn't have other things to be thinking about, like if I'm in the birth room at home or in the
Yeah.
hospital, like I'm that's where I'm at, that's where my head is at, that's where my body is at, like that's where I am. I'm not
Mhm.
thinking about different things, I'm not doing other jobs at the
Yeah.
same time, like I'm solely there for the people that I'm supporting. And yeah, to be that kind of, as you said, that kind of steady person in the room to help you, navigate information and to help you yeah, just feel like okay, like there's somebody here,
Yeah,
just for me that has my
absolutely.
back. And even if my partner has a tizzy or it gets too much for them or even they just need to go eat,
Yes, yeah.
I'm not going to be by myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you just said, it's very important because the partner also gets that support from the doula. It's not just
Yeah,
mother focused or birthing person focused. The family will benefit from the presence of the
yeah,
doula because they're given that chance to take a breath, to slow down, to go look after themselves. The intensity of the whole experience is not just on their shoulder.
yeah,
Um, and I think that that's also a strength. The doula works for the whole family, not just one member, and that's probably, again, something for families to look out for, a doula that works for their family unit as who
yeah,
they are, and that will support, you know, their own specific, unique family, and the dynamic
yeah.
that's going on in there, what they're wishing for themselves.
Yeah, because it is such a big part. Like it's like thinking of the whole picture. Like if you have a partner who's going to be in the room when you're giving birth, it's like,
Mm.
okay, well, like actually their own views on birth and their own past experiences also need to be, given attention to. And
Yeah,
also they need to be receiving the information as well. And the knowledge, because there's no point like the birthing person just going like all in on information and all in on prep and reflecting on their past experiences when their partner's going to be there as well. They're also
yeah,
going to be experiencing it, so it's somebody there that will also support them with information. Like I was asking like antenatal sessions, like if the partner is there, I'm like, how do you take in information? Like, do you like to read
Mhm.
books? Do you like to listen to podcasts? Do you
Yeah,
prefer like a movie or like a documentary, like what sort, or just a conversation? Because again, everybody learns differently, everybody
yeah,
takes things in differently, and so it might be different than the mother, the birthing person, like how they take in information and how their partner takes in information might be completely different.
yeah,
And so I think that's also like a really important part, being able to support, the whole family in the different ways that they need by providing them, resources through different formats. And yeah, being able to support the partner to support the mother as they're giving birth. So they
absolutely.
don't feel like I'm just like pushing in there and taking over their role, because
Yeah,
that's not
yeah,
what it is at all. You
yeah,
know, uh, I love to be able to, show the partner ways to support the mother and then see them stepping in, and I can kind of sit back and, be there, or, you know, be doing something else in the room for them. But like, yeah, giving them their space and not, yeah, trying to um, take over the role. It's definitely not what it's about.
validate them as the member of that team that they are as well,
Yeah,
and be present for them in the way they need. That adaptability of the doula as well is a great extra skill.
yeah,
I'm going to try and summarize there a little bit. So, if a
yeah,
family is looking for a doula, we're saying we talked about training, so that might matter, the type of training that the doula has
yeah,
had, the basic doula training, but also those kind of add-on, the different types of trainings that are piling up in there. Um, we touched on the kind of clicking with the doula. So if you're meeting a doula initially, phone call, in person, via their websites or social media sometimes, do you
mhm,
think that you're going to get on well with them? Are you going to be comfortable in their presence? Because chances are they're going to be with you at a very intimate and fragile time. So can you
mhm,
trust them and really open up and be yourself around that doula? Um, is the doula having the right skills for what you need from her? Because every family needs a doula for very different reasons. Sometimes, as you said, they
mhm,
don't know what they need, they just know they need something.
yeah,
Um, or sometimes it's something very specific because of previous experiences and things like that. So can the doula provide what it is that you will need when you need it? And can the doula support the wider family, so the partner mostly, but also anybody else who might be on your birth team or your postpartum team, whoever is going to be coming and going during that time? Can that doula be supportive and present for them as well? Those are all the bits we've kind of really kind of touched on, which is already a lot.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you feel is important for a family when they're choosing the right doula for them? Is there anything we haven't talked about yet that you can think of?
Hmm. Um, it's a hard one on the spot, but I definitely think like trusting your instincts,
Yeah. Yeah.
trusting that like feeling like if you feel like you need support or that you might want support or you that knowing that you deserve more support than you're already getting and you just don't know where to seek it or if that's worth the investment or worth making a
Mm,
priority like that remember to like trust your instincts and also like trusting that knowing that like you are worth making a priority and be your pregnancy, your birth, your postpartum, like these are such big experiences in your life that you will remember forever. You want to
mm.
remember them for the right reason. you
Yeah,
know you want to remember them
absolutely.
for the right reasons. So yeah, you know ask the questions, seek the support, and yeah, get those phone calls for discovery calls for your birth and postpartum support. And maybe you talk to everyone and you're like, no, not for me, it's not actually what I need. But like you actually, yeah, you actually trusted that you wanted to find out more. I
Mm,
think is really important.
absolutely. And I feel as I'm kind of going along the years of being a doula, I very much hear people suddenly hearing about doulas for the first time saying, "Oh my God, I wish I had had that when I needed it." I have
Yeah,
never heard somebody saying, "Oh, I got a doula and I kind of regret it. It wasn't worth it." I've never, or maybe you have, but I haven't heard that. So it's a good sign that we're doing exactly what it is, what we're meant to do.
yeah,
So definitely seek the information. Go and look what doulas are available in your area. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But if it is, then you know that they are there. You know who's there, you know who you might like. And then you can make the steps to approach them and see if they will be available for when you need them.
yeah, for sure. And like the likes of like the checking with like the Doula Association of Ireland, like that will show
Yeah.
different doulas in that cover your county or in your county if you're in Ireland. Asking in like if you're in like a local like mum group or if there's like other perinatal like professionals around you, like maybe your lactation consultant will
Yeah.
know a doula around you or your physiotherapist or maybe massage teacher or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And asking with people around you, if because there's loads of different ways to find a doula.
Yeah.
But definitely like yeah, trust that if you feel like there's a little niggle there that you want a little bit more support than you're getting,
Yeah.
and know that you can get that. It's just sometimes you have to put in a little bit of effort to just like yeah, people would have always had people around them after they gave birth and when they gave birth, and it would have been that community care, which like a lot of us don't have access to now, be it like you're not living where your family is or
Yes.
your
Yeah.
family and friends have other children or other priorities and everybody's, working long hours and, different stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas like people would have been in community, in village, either like lots of people living together or lots of people living
Mhm.
right next door to each other that all would have supported each other with children and childcare
Yeah.
and, would
Absolutely.
have had, cooking food together and all these sort of things would have been done.
Yeah.
Whereas like now the way society is built for where most of us and how most of us are living, it's just not like that.
Hmm.
So it's like if you're craving more support, it's like yeah, it's completely normal because it's what you're meant to have. Like you're not meant to be
Absolutely. You're not
trying
meant to
to
be on your own
juggle all
doing
the
it
things.
all.
Yeah, it's not meant to be
Absolutely.
juggling all the things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if somebody is looking for a doula, you mentioned the Doula Association of Ireland,
Yeah.
doula.ie, and there
Yeah.
will be a listing there of all of the doulas that are members, which is great because number one, you get all the doulas in the one place on the same
Mhm.
website. You can kind of
Yeah.
start shopping around, get a bit of a feel for the different types of doulas you can find. And
Mhm.
then if you can click on each doula's profile, you can go to their own, websites or social media and kind of get a bit of
Yeah.
a feel for them initially. If people are looking for you directly, Nicole, where can they find you?
So my website is just nicoleokelly.com. So it's just my name. My Instagram is will be here, but it's Nicole O'Kelly Yoga, but it's for all of my work. And yeah, I support like families for postpartum, mostly in Roscommon and Longford, but actually anywhere kind of within 45-ish minutes from where I am in Roscommon. So that actually
Nice.
covers, bits of Leitrim, bits of
Yeah.
Mayo and such. And then for birth support, I support all of Connacht and the Midlands as well. So because of where I am, I actually touch on a lot of counties. So I have a wider kind of area of support there. But
Fantastic.
yeah, just like reach out to me on Instagram or pop over to my website. I have a virtual birth prep program called the Snug as well. That's going to be coming back soon.
Okay.
So even if you're in like different parts of the country, yeah, come over and yeah, shoot me a message and I'll give you more details about that. But that will be all virtual. Yeah,
Fantastic.
really
That's
good with
great.
it.
To be fair, I think if, the COVID times have taught us anything is that we can do a lot virtually as well and reach out to more
Yeah.
people that need it. Some people may not have the actual physical support near them, but virtually they can still
Mhm.
take a lot, so that's great. Um, so yeah, and I suppose it's the same for me. People can catch me here
Yeah.
on Instagram fairly easily. And my website has loads of resources as well with blog posts and information on the different things that I offer. Mypostpartumdoula.com is my own website if anybody's looking for it. We'll probably share it in both our websites in the comments
Yeah.
when this live goes posted on each of our website or on our pages there.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to say before I let you be for the day?
No, I don't think so. I think we
We've
spoke about
covered a
loads
lot.
there. Yeah, but if anyone has any following questions or anybody listens and yeah wants to, share how they're feeling after listening to the talk, just shoot either of us a message here on Instagram or any of the other places, and we'd be, happy to chat and support you and, send you in the right direction if you have a question about something that we spoke about.
Yeah. And if anybody listens to this later on and thinks of a family that is expecting at the moment and thinks, oh gosh, they need to know this, tag them, send them the
Yeah,
video, send them our contact details and start them, give them the information that they might even know they need at the moment.
yeah,
The more we talk about this and the better our families will be.
yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me on, Amelie. I hope your cake turned out well.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I got plenty more to make. Bake sale at my house tomorrow if anybody wants to
That's
come.
fine.
It's for the Children's Foundation as well.
Oh,
So that's what I'll be at today and tomorrow now.
well, best of luck with it. I hope you sell and eat loads of delicious cakes. If I was
Well,
closer, I would be there.
I'll be eating cake all weekend if not.
Yeah. That's not a thing. That's not a bad thing.
My children are hoping nobody turns up.
Of course. Yeah, they'll be well fed for the weekend.
That's it. Nicole, thank you so much for joining me this morning. That was great.
Thank you, Emily. Bye, everyone.
Talk to you soon. Bye bye.